Good evening, everyone. This is KirkTalks episode 3, where we're talking about real estate. I have the awesome Miss Megan Blake in the building with me. That's going to drop some gems and knowledge on the people. So yeah, I'm gonna turn it right over to the expert. Welcome, Miss Megan Blake. So how you doing, Miss Megan?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
I'm doing well. Staying busy.
Okay. So those that don't know you, real estate agent. Who is Megan?
All right. Well, first I'll say, Megan. I'm a mom. I'm a realtor. I'm a churchgoer. I'm a sports avid. I love sports. But my main thing is I love trying to help. I'm a real estate agent trying to help people create generational wealth.
Okay.
That's my main goal in my real estate business is trying to educate and help others understand how real estate creates wealth.
So generational wealth, that's mainly what the show is about, breaking generational curses, giving the people the knowledge, the education that we necessarily didn't have, so they won't have to go through some of the struggles that we went through. How long have you been in the real estate game?
Well, so I'll say this, I majored in finance in college, so I always knew I wanted to work with money somehow.
Right.
So when I graduated, I first started in banking.
Gotcha.
So in that part, I started in the credit phase of banking, where it was mostly
we need to talk.
like trades, and then it got into where I was helping businesses finance their trade. Going into like 2012 is when I got into commercial real estate.
Right.
So therefore, I was helping investors build, helping them finance and underwrite, like your grocery store anchors, your like your Starbucks that you see here.
Okay. So big business.
Yeah, knowing how much those up to like $1 million was went around 2012 or so. So I did that for about 3 years, and then my last corporate America job at TD Bank, I was a commercial underwriter, but I was doing projects over like $50 million. So in that industry, it was your mall anchors, your Target anchors, and then in the last 3 years, because I left there in 2017, the major focus was apartments.
Okay.
So that's what really triggered my real estate dealings, because I would have to underwrite and analyze how the comparison of owning a home versus renting.
Okay.
And with that, investors are not going to put an apartment building somewhere where people can afford to buy more so than rent, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So I would help finance anywhere from your DC, Washington DC area down to Florida.
Okay.
So that's where I kind of got my commercial start.
Right.
But then, being there for a couple of years, I'm like, this can't, I gotta help people, because if I'm seeing like, a studio in the Charlotte area, because I did help finance some apartments around here in Fort Mill, Charlotte, a studio costing $1,000.
Right.
You only got 4 walls. And so the strategy of investors, in the latest models that you probably see in apartments, in the newer ones, they have anywhere from studios to 2 bedrooms, a low number of 3 bedrooms, because by the time you are renting an apartment and you have to afford a 3 bedroom, you should be buying a house.
Right.
So that was the analysis that I would have to underwrite at that time. So I'm like, okay, these people making money, they constructing these buildings, and they're even selling these properties for millions of dollars by the time they even get, before they even get fully leased.
Right. Okay.
And they moving on to the next project.
Big business.
Yeah, big business. That's what it was. So I'm like, how can I help people? Not necessarily I want to help investors, but I want to help individuals more so.
So you want to get it back a little bit.
Right. So
awesome.
I left corporate banking in 2007, and I haven't look back. Yeah.
So who you with? What company are you with?
So I'm with Keller Williams. I've been there since April of 2017.
Gotcha.
I started my real estate license journey in January 2017.
Okay.
So I was working and doing my licensing at the same time.
Okay. Dedication, y'all.
Dedication. Because I have a daughter, so I couldn't just walk away at that time.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, I was determined to whether if I was going to try to do both at the same time.
Right.
But it came to a point to where I was working, and they said that I couldn't do both. So I took a leap of faith.
And that's what it's all about. Taking that leap of faith, jumping out there and making it happen. And we're glad you did, because I follow you on Instagram, and
Yeah.
today you posting a house that you sold, you closed on, so
right.
you definitely killing the game. How is it like working in that market? I know Keller Williams, worldwide,
right.
nationwide.
Right.
How is it working for a company like that?
So it's good. It gives you that, being that name brand to help you, they're a good company to help you learn the foundation of real estate. And a lot of that is, just knowing your ins and outs of your contracts, having the people you can depend on to say, hey, I got this scenario. And here's the thing, and what I see a difference in commercial real estate and residential, I would be working on a commercial project for about 9 months, sometimes to a year.
Wow.
Whereas in this residential, I'm working with multiple people at the same time.
Right.
Once we go on the contract, we only on the contract for 30 days if it's an existing property, or if you're building, up to maybe 7 or 9 months.
Okay.
Depending on how many times. So I like the faster pace. I like the personable relationship with people. And I'll say a lot of my business comes from people I know. Being from the area has truly helped me. Be as successful. And I thank my clients, all the time. And just having that foundation and base here helps build upon that and what has developed over the past 3 years.
So the show, Financial Wealth, with generational wealth, mental health, we have a lot of investors.
Right.
Even myself. I was talking to one of my partners. We don't need a real estate agent. Let's do it ourselves. Let's make all the money. Explain to the people why that's stupid.
An investor, as an investor, you're trying to make money, as much money as you can.
Right.
And getting in at the lowest cost, right? So you trying to get in low, sell high.
Right.
So depending on where you are, and I'll say this, I've renovated a home before, like a flip. It was like a smaller flip. It wasn't like a big rehab.
Right.
So I did that in Chester. Versus Rock Hill.
Right.
Rock Hill and Chester are 2 different markets. So
right.
And at that time I was just getting into real estate.
Okay.
So I didn't necessarily know the Chester market like I was learning the Rock Hill market.
Okay.
So your expectations as an investor isn't going to be the same as an expert that knows the market, knows how it's shifting, know what area is worth this much versus this much. So it's all about knowing the knowledge and information. You can see that, this house sold for this much. Or as an investor, what do I need to put in if you're flipping a house? What do I need to put in this property over here in order to get my money back out versus over here? Because you may not want to put granite and hardwood floors in the area. It may look good, but you got to think about the type of person or the type of buyer that's going to buy in that location.
Gotcha.
So real estate is all about, first price, location, and condition. Those are your top 3 things.
Gotcha.
Whether you're investing or whether you're buying yourself.
So get that to us one more time. Price.
So real estate is about price, then your location, and then the condition. Because I'm not going to pay for something. I'm not going to overpay for something that is not in its best condition.
Gotcha.
In an area that is not the best area. So if you're thinking about investing, you want to go in low, but you got to go in trying to get the house in a condition based on that location's, even like their disposable income area. Because you can, different areas. Let's just say, Columbia and Charlotte are 2 different areas. In pricing. Now it's growing. Don't get me wrong. Columbia and Charlotte are about to meet, and we can talk about that later.
Right. That's why you need to snatch up Chester.
Right. So this area is growing, and I don't know if you guys read, and I'm sure a lot of people have been talking about realtor.com and stuff. But this Charlotte market, and we in Rock Hill is part of the Charlotte, what's called MSA. So Charlotte and surrounding areas. So whether Rock Hill may be on the lower end, we're still lumped into Charlotte and Valentine and Huntersville, so when a lot of people talk about the pricing, because investors have come in here, they've been in Rock Hill for probably a good 3 to 5 years now. So if you're looking at Rock Hill to invest, you on the higher end now versus with 2015-ish, 2016 kind of area.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up. What's your take on, I get phone calls all the time. I got partners all around the globe, all around the country. For a long time I was, let's look at Rock Hill, Chester, maybe even Columbia. What's your take on going to Cleveland? I hear that market is jumping. Going to Milwaukee, that market is jumping. Just going to other parts of the country. What's your take on that?
Well, it just depends.
Okay.
So you got a lot of people coming down from up north.
Okay.
Coming here.
Right.
People from New York, your Ohio's, your Chicago's, your out west. Because even though I know a lot of people say our cost of living is going up, it's still much cheaper than New York.
Any day.
Their property taxes are 3 times as much as ours.
Any day.
So if they can go up there, I know one of my first clients from New York, they ended up building, and they lived in on the side of New York, like Rochester and Buffalo, on that side, upper state New York. And they said, Megan, we buying this house 2,400 square feet, maybe paying $1,200 a month. Now this was 4 years ago, so those prices are definitely different now.
Gotcha.
We come from up there and we're renting something for $1,400. That's 800 square feet.
Right.
We come down here and buy 3 times as much house.
Gotcha.
So I don't necessarily know the areas of Milwaukee and stuff, but I do know a lot of people are coming south, and even more south in your Texas area.
Okay.
Texas, Austin area,
Gotcha.
that area is going. Your Tampa's, your Jacksonville areas.
Okay.
All of those, the south states are where the growth is really going.
Awesome.
And like I would say, your Oregons, your Seattles, your Colorados. Based on different things as far as legalization.
Right.
I had a potential client that was here, and they had just moved here, and one of my daughter's friends is from Colorado.
Okay.
They moved here last year, but people are going there too.
Okay.
And people are going, depending on the part of California, but they're not going as far as California because but Nevada, your Las Vegas, it's cheaper to be there than being in Los Angeles.
Okay.
But you still can get there within a 3-4 hour time.
Okay, definitely.
So that's just like people trying to come to Rock Hill or Fort Mill. I can still get to Charlotte in 30 minutes, even with traffic.
Right.
So that's how people are thinking about these more suburb areas than staying in your cities.
What you know about moving to Colorado?
Hey, I'm just saying, that's what they say. But no, I do have family out there in Colorado Springs, but Denver is a hot place because you also got to think about with location is also about how people getting around the world.
Right.
Charlotte Douglas Airport is an international airport.
Okay.
I can go straight from Charlotte to New York.
Awesome.
I don't necessarily have to live in New York.
Right.
And especially like nowadays in this COVID environment, people are actually keeping their remote jobs, moving down here and just working, here.
And that's kind of like one of my partners said. It's like you see a house in the area, call me. I'm on a plane. He's in Jersey.
Yeah.
It's like I'll book something tonight. Just let me know.
Yeah.
The world has shrunk. You can do a Zoom meeting and be around the globe in minutes.
Yeah, so COVID is definitely going to change. It's definitely changing the dynamics, even in real estate.
Okay.
Because even when COVID first hit, they closed up all the businesses.
Right.
So one of the things in the beginning we had to do was kind of do like virtual showings.
Right. Right.
And,
how did that work out for you?
Not on our part. So South Carolina, we on that South Carolina North Carolina line. So it didn't necessarily affect us in South Carolina. And a lot of my business, I do both South Carolina and North Carolina because it's more beneficial to have my license that way.
Right.
Because we're so close. But
probably want all the money though. Right?
But I have more people in South Carolina. That's my base. But people coming from North Carolina because it's so taxes.
Right.
So taxes up there in North Carolina, even in Mecklenburg County, you're automatically taxed at the investor rate versus when you cross the line.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so when you cross the line, you come into 4% as a homestead, as your primary residential property. So a lot of people are like, hey, I'm paying $3,000 in tax up here. I can come down here and pay $2,000, and I can get a bigger house. I can get better schools.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
More bang for your buck.
Right, more bang for your buck, and that's how people across the country are thinking too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, just a little insight, y'all. I'm on my second house. First house experience, buying process. I had a little agent. I was a little apprehensive. I didn't think she was skilled. I didn't think she was knowledgeable. I did all the home searching myself. So.
Yeah.
what's that process like, or how is that process supposed to look?
Well, I mean, in today's environment, people are always looking at houses.
Okay.
You know, so as an agent, and it can be likely that you may see a house before I do.
Okay.
You know, because I may be, and not that this is a bad thing, but I'm working with I may be juggling a lot of different clients. You know, whether somebody's building, whether I have an investor, but you're searching, you're only searching for you. Whereas I'm searching for maybe 10, 15 different people.
Okay.
So for me, I try to set my clients up on like an email notification. So I'm usually continuously on my email checking. So if I see a house pop up, then, you know, I'm reaching out to my clients like, hey, you know, let's go see this house. Now, I'm sure when you bought your first house, what year was that?
That was what? 13?
Okay, 2013. So when you went to go see a house, on that day, how many houses did you go see?
6, 5 or 6.
Okay,
at least
5
or
6.
6. Yeah.
In the environment today, we're going to see maybe one house a week.
Oh wow! So the market's kind of changed that much.
The market has changed that much, and even when a house comes on, I, as a real estate agent, I already know if it's gonna have multiple offers on it.
Okay.
And I try, and when I first started working with a client, I'm gonna give you the nitty gritty. I'm gonna tell you, like, right now in this market, don't expect to buy a house in the first week or 2.
Okay.
Because I'm just giving it to you real. Because that's probably, depending on price range you're in the Rock Hill area.
Okay.
Anything under 200, you can be competing with cash buyers.
Right.
So cash is king.
Right.
You know, you, as long as you show proof, you know, and attorney's got a spot for you to close the cash.
Okay.
You ready to go. Versus finance is 30 days.
Okay.
So you kind of have tiers in the home buying process. So you got your cash buyers,
Right.
you got your finance buyers, and even within your finance buyer, you got your buyers that are FHA approved,
Gotcha.
your conventional buyers,
Okay.
your USDA buyers, and your VA buyers.
Okay.
So you got 4 different
Right.
categories, even when people are financing.
Right. So fellas, my investment group, the agent just told you, 200K. There's people that's nothing. Get your weight up, get your money up. So, you know, again, for the show, a lot of us, we don't have 200K and we're not accustomed to that kind of money, but there are people that have been financially stable a little bit longer than us. So they do have access to that kind of capital. So essentially, you think you're going to get a house in a day, a month, 2 months. It might be a longer process to find that home. So just be patient.
Right.
And
you definitely got to be patient in this market. You definitely got to be patient in this market.
Awesome.
And trust your agent, because people that are, and like I say, people are moving from this area.
Right.
So you're not only competing with people that are here locally.
Right.
You got people that are sending in offers, not even looking at houses.
And it's crazy you say that, because when I sold my last house, it was a family in Virginia, and they FaceTimed the house.
Yeah.
And
that's their virtual housing
they
I'm talking about.
They was like, we'll take it.
Right.
We'll take like, y'all can have it.
Right. And that's where I have to try to educate people on is like, especially like you said, your first house. Your first house isn't gonna have everything you want.
Right. Okay.
Unless you got the money to build it on your own land. Most people want land, they don't want HOA fees. You know, that's, you know, some people's criteria of dream home. But, and I like to tell people, like, home buying and getting to that dream home is like baby steps.
Gotcha.
You know, you get into your first house, you may have to compromise.
Right.
You know, I bought my first house during the recession, the last recession. So, and I also say buying a house is being at the right place at the right time.
Right.
And it's all about timing in real estate.
Okay.
So when I bought my first house, it was in 2010. I actually, like you said, you looked at 6 houses even in 2015 because the market was on its way back up.
Right.
In 2010, I saw my first, and it was a little townhouse.
Gotcha.
And I saw that house in August of 2019. I purchased that house in February of 2010. Well, 2009, I saw that house.
Right.
And I purchased it in February 2010.
Okay.
So that house was on the market, what, 7, 8 months?
Right. Okay.
It's been on people homes been on the market for 8 hours.
Right.
Now.
Right.
You know, so and I know a lot of people, when I talk to them, they'll say, oh my, you know, I know this person that has this mortgage for $900, $1,000. My first question to them is, when did they buy?
Right.
When did they buy?
And that's something very important that you just mentioned. You can't count another man's pocket. You don't know their credit. You don't know how much they put down. So that's not an apples and apples conversation.
Right.
You know, again, my parents, you know, their mortgage probably $700-800. House is amazing, but again, they bought the house 30 years ago. House is actually paid off, so you can't make that comparison. But one of the things I want to focus on, a lot of people watching the show might be apprehensive. You know, they're worried about the market. They're worried about the agent. They're not quite sure if they want to buy a house. Like, what makes a good agent? You know, I know that question doesn't really go together, but what do you think makes a good agent?
Well, for me, I feel like what makes a good agent is first educating.
Okay.
And that's what I try to do, like you're saying about the home buying process. Like, sometimes people don't know. Sometimes people, they come to me making, I don't know anything about a home buying process. Right. You know, and so I have to start from scratch.
Gotcha.
Some people come to me like, Megan, hey, I got a pre-approval letter.
Okay.
So people are at different stages because they may have done their research.
Right.
So as an agent, sometimes that can help you if that client has a little bit of knowledge and you build upon that.
Right.
But if I'm starting with somebody from scratch, I'm telling you, you know, your first thing to do is go get the pre-approval.
And I was going to ask you that, like, how important is the pre-approval letter?
Oh, the pre-approval, I mean, if you're financing, you have nothing.
Right.
And even now today, there's a difference between pre-qualification and there's a pre-approval.
Can you break that down for us?
So pre-qualification is, if I see a pre-qualification, that tells me you just talked to a lender and told them how much money you made and they pulled your credit.
Gotcha.
They don't have your taxes, they don't have your W-2s to verify.
Okay.
That's how much you make. That's what a lot of lenders are doing now. They're not really giving you your pre-qualification. Okay. They're giving you your pre-approval because they don't want to give that false sense of hope.
Right.
So when you are going to a lender, you need to be ready to have 2 years of tax returns.
Okay.
That means 19 or 18.
Right.
You need to have filed.
Gotcha.
Not during the process.
Right. Okay.
Because you have a lot of people, I haven't filed taxes. Okay, that's the number one thing.
Right.
You know, two years of tax returns, 2 years of W-2s or profit and loss if you own your own business.
Okay.
And remind me to talk about people that own their own business. Because I've had some issues with that, with trying to help people because, you know, and I run my own business, so I know how they go. So you have your 2 years W-2, 2 years of taxes, 60 days or 2 months of bank statements, and then 30 days so like a month worth of pay stubs. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, you know, 2 pay stubs, you get paid once a month.
Okay.
So that's your base where you need to start out with having that financial information in order to give to the lender.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where everybody has to start. Yeah. Now going back to what I was saying about the 2 years of taxes for if you own your own business, you have to plan to buy a house.
Gotcha.
Because I know we're taught when we're business owners to try to report as little income and try to write off, you know, and we do have a lot of expenses. Right. But when you're trying to buy a house, you need to plan to buy a house, and that's where accounting comes in.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I've been learning. You definitely need a CPA, and you definitely need a CPA for my investors. You definitely need a CPA that's familiar with the housing market. You want to pay as little as possible. But say if you made $100,000, but you wrote off 80, that's only showing 20.
And you can't say I made more than that. I can't see it.
Right. So you need to get with a savvy CPA that knows what they're doing and let them know that you're trying to buy a home so you can find that balance. Because what you don't want to do is end up screwing yourself by writing everything off. So find a CPA in the area, vet them just like you're gonna vet your real estate agent. But yeah, don't hurt yourself.
Don't try to go the easy way.
Right.
You gotta, bite a bullet one way or the other. You're gonna bite the bullet either in taxes probably, or you're gonna bite the bullet in your rent. So on that level. So honestly, before you even really come to a realtor, you need to have your pre-approval. Okay. Because it kind of makes the process that much longer.
Gotcha.
You know, so because if you come in and say, hey, I'm looking for a house, and I'm gonna say, hey, have you been pre-approved? No, I haven't been pre-approved. Well, you gotta backtrack, you gotta backstep, and that's what you gotta get to first.
So dumb question.
No questions.
This some dumb questions. Where do you go when you don't know that stuff? Like, how can the people learn a little bit more? Is there somewhere they can go and pull the research? Like, do you call the agent? Like,
right. Well, and you can start there with the agent, and they should be able to direct you that way. And then it's our job to follow back up.
Gotcha.
You know, with those people.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's how I talk to the people that I talk to or that I help.
Right.
And I have certain lenders that I use automatically because we have that relationship.
Right.
And that's a good thing too, as an agent trying to help my clients. I know that this lender is going to do everything possible because I, as an agent, am going to do everything possible.
All right, because you want that check.
No, because I mean it's a little
You want to help people.
But right, I want to help people. But that's another thing on the flip side. As a realtor, I don't get paid until you buy your house.
Okay.
So I'm working for free.
Right.
Pretty much until you close on your house. So if we're looking for 6 months, I don't get paid for that. So, and that's another thing that I would hope that, talking to you is respect, like, the realtors and what they do, because their jobs, I mean, we work night and day. So like, it's not just a 9 to 5 for us most of the time,
So for me, and I'm glad you said that because, like my first realtor, and I'm going to stick with it. She didn't do anything. But again, she did go to school. She earned her license. She made that investment. But I found out they do a whole lot more when I had to sign all those papers and I had to initial all those papers. Like, oh, this serious. They put in work. You know, so again, I've learned to respect the realtor a long time ago, but I don't think that a lot of people respect everything that goes into the amount of research that's put into it.
Research. Sometimes I'm a counselor between husband and wife.
Oh, yeah.
So, I try to use, a lot of my background with working with apartments because it's kind of like, okay, you're renting for $1,100-$1,200.
Gotcha.
2-bedroom. You could have possibly a 3-bedroom house.
Gotcha.
So trying to make that correlation and trying to get on the level of my clients and kind of say, hey, I know what this looks like. I know where this is going to go for you if you don't. And if you want to buy a house, kudos. But if you can't right now, then prepare for that.
Position yourself to where you can buy the house. But I wanted to double back a little bit. You said something very important and we kind of glossed over. You said you have a team, essentially. You have a strong team. So if you get a good agent, you're already getting a good, strong team. Right. The lender.
I have it. So for me, right now, I'm a one-man show, one-woman show, pretty much. But I have people that assist me. So I have what's called like a transaction coordinator. She helps me doing the transaction. She helps kind of facilitate because I can't do all of that working with 15 people.
Gotcha.
So when I'm the one that shows my client the properties. I'm the one that kind of negotiates the contract with her. But she maneuvers everything. She does the paperwork in and out. So when we go into contract, she writes up the contract. She sends it to the attorney. Her and the attorney communicate. Her and the other agent communicate along with myself. So there's a lot of communications on the back end that sometimes clients don't know. There may have been a fire drill on our back end, that we had to rush and get something, but you'll never know as a client.
So wrap it up, keep it going.
So because I have to keep my clients, secure in what they're doing, keep them calm and cool as collect, because this can be a crazy process. Depending on, what you're buying, how much you're spending, where it is, because this process generally takes about 30 to 35 days. So when it starts to get longer and stuff starts to get towards the end, sometimes things can fall out. Sometimes it can be stressful. And so my job is also to make sure that you as a buyer is knowing what you need to know, all the information you need to know, making sure that you're having the smoothest process that you can during the home buying process, and we as agents are eating it on the back end. So you may not see it,
right.
the frustration, or I'm trying to get this document from this lender or from your attorneys, but you don't see that.
Okay.
That
well, y'all do a good job,
of disguising it.
Y'all do a great job. So,
right.
So what about those? I've heard traditionally
Mm-hmm.
you got to put 20% down. Is
Mm-hmm.
that still like the standard?
No.
Okay.
No. So going back to what I was talking about with your different levels of financing.
Okay.
So generally, with your FHA clients, you need to save about 3.5% of the purchase price.
Okay.
That's your FHA clients.
Gotcha.
So with your conventional clients, let me go back. So when you're approved for FHA loan, usually they kind of consider it a first time home buyers kind of type of loan.
Federal Housing Administration.
Federal Housing Administration loan. But a lot of times, it's just because that's the lowest loan program that you have to put a down payment on. So, with your FHA, it's the 3.5% down payment.
Okay.
Now, I try to tell people don't get confused with just the down payment, because there's a down payment portion of it, and then there's a closing cost portion of it, which is generally about 2.5%.
Okay.
So what I try to tell FHA buyers is you need to have about 6% of the purchase price. Conventional, you need 3%, 3 to 5%. Well, 5%. I'll say up to about 5%, because as a conventional buyer, you're a less risky borrower to a bank.
Right.
Because your credit score is probably a little bit better.
And that's what I was going to ask you. That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
What is the baseline? What is that credit score?
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps most of us back.
Right.
I don't know if my credit is good enough.
Right.
So what is that matching number?
Right. And so now, and I have to kind of bring it to current terms because COVID changed us a lot in the lending world. It used to be where you could have around a 600 credit score, but now you got to have around a 640.
Okay.
620 to 640 is your FHA qualification.
Okay.
Kind of.
But I definitely want to say though, because for whatever reason though, people didn't even realize that it was a 600 pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Why I don't know.
Yeah.
But a lot of people thought it had to be a lot higher. So people have been renting when you don't have to.
Right.
Right. And even a 640, it doesn't take that much to go from a 600 to a 640 either.
No.
So. A lot of you guys, you can get that home. I would just encourage you to call an awesome agent, and they can kind of walk you through that process.
Right.
So you don't need that 700. You don't need that 750.
Mm-hmm.
You in the 6. She probably ain't gonna take too many calls because she's busy. But just go ahead and call them. I'm working on this. My plans.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's the thing that I try to tell people too is, you might not be ready. However, going to a lender. And saying, I know my credit maybe not be the best right now to buy a house. But what a lender can do is they can give a lot of lenders will give you a plan.
Right.
In order to get to that 640, 700, so that you can have, because your credit score, of a loan or getting approved, your credit score really dictates your interest rate.
Gotcha.
That's where it helps you.
Okay.
Mostly. So you need a baseline to get approved initially. But the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rate is. So your interest rate can make a big difference in how much affordability that you can afford in a home.
Awesome.
So your 640, I would say your 640, 620, 640 is kind of like your baseline right now. And anything higher gets you a better interest rate.
Okay.
So with that, like I said, FHA buyers 3.5%, conventional 5%. VA, they're usually no money down programs, and then USDA.
And VA is when you served in the military.
When you served in the military. So, so you have those threshold or those type of loans there. But most of your first time home buyers are pretty much going to qualify for your FHA loan.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Miss Megan, this show is all about mental health, generational wealth, and we like to bring on winners. We like to bring on local winners. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has that cousin that's a real estate agent.
Or not even if they're not real estate and they know about real estate.
Right. So I encourage everybody to go to a successful real estate agent. And I say successful because I see you winning all the time. What are some of your personal goals as an agent?
Well, some of my personal goals are, I do not necessarily thresholds of how many clients I want to help or anything like that, but my goal is to help people create generational wealth.
Okay, awesome.
With real estate, because when I was in banking, that's how I got to be an investor.
Okay.
In a way. So I'll just kind of tell you my little backstory with that. When I was working at banking, I had it was one of these managers, and he was saying how he didn't really have to work at the bank.
Okay.
Because he had $1 million real estate portfolio,
right.
and he was probably like 37 at that time.
Right.
He was like, my wife works. She's over the real estate business.
Right.
And I work here pretty much for our insurance. I was like, well,
right.
Okay. And so we were talking. We have a child around the same age, and so I was telling him that I was investing in my daughter through a 529.
Okay.
So y'all heard of that?
Right.
With
right.
an investment vehicle for saving for college.
Right.
And so he was like, Megan, why don't you buy your property, and you can put that $300 a month that you're putting into that vehicle, which you may not even use, because what if your child gets a scholarship?
Right.
But if she doesn't want to go to college, you can't take that money out with itself getting penalized on it. Or you can pass it on to the next child or your grandchild. Okay. So that's how I got into my first property. And I started, and it was actually a family's property that they were going to lose it. Okay. And I took it over because the city was going to tear it down. So I still had that property, and that's, in my mind, that's her purpose. That's the purpose of that, is for her. Either she can, I can cash it in. Right. But right now I'm cashing in because somebody's renting it out. Right. So as far as my goals, I do want to have potentially a portfolio to where it can sustain me. Okay. Later down the line, because that's what I saw in banking. That's what I was taught from him. Right. And when I used to have to look at people's financial statements to lend them money, a lot of times people had properties on what's called their Schedule E. I'm sure you know about that. Right. So that Schedule E helps support their income and give them more income to be able to afford other things. No doubt. So that's how we have, and like I said, I wasn't necessarily taught that with my parents. Right. I mean, they had rental properties, but it was because they just moved to another house and they kept it. Right. But I will credit my mom to not to get in a lot of debt. Awesome. That I don't have to get into, and I see that a lot of times with some of my clients. Of, I'm gonna go buy this car. Right. Before I buy this house. Priorities. Priorities. Because I always tell, my clients or people that's thinking about buying, you can always get a car. Always. It just depends on what interest rate they're gonna give you. But you can't always get a house. Okay. Right. And as far as building a real estate portfolio or something like that, somebody's always gonna have to have somewhere to lay their head. True. Either you're paying that mortgage, or you paying the mortgage. Right. Either way, unless you're sleeping in your car. Right. Even if you go to a hotel, you paying the hotel's mortgage. Gotcha. When you rent, you paying the investor's mortgage. So I just heard yesterday, if you're not motivated, one way to get motivated is if you're renting, just ask your landlord how much money they made off you. or if they still got a mortgage on it. Depending on how old the building is. Right. Right, because a lot of times they only finance, though, working in that industry, when I was in banking, we can only help them finance those for 10 or 15 years. Gotcha. So if you've been a 10-year renter in the same apartment building, your rent has gone up, but their pockets is getting fat, because every time they put a new tenant in, they're raising the price even that much more on the tenant coming in. Right. Right. So just trying to help people, not, like you say, you have generational wealth, you got generational renters. Okay. Because they weren't taught to buy a house because their parents, their grandparents were generational renters. That's what we're gonna break though. We're gonna help break that. Because we definitely need more homeowners. We definitely need more minority homeowners. Right. So I definitely appreciate you coming on and spreading this knowledge. But for those at home, I don't know if you guys realize, I've had Chris Jackson, I've had Antonio, and I've had Megan, and they all three of them have a financial backing. All three of them are winning. So to me, just listening, it's very, very highly important that you have to get your financial literacy up. You have to get your financial education up, because the world is playing a game that a lot of us don't know about. Right. So guys, you got to learn that stuff, and that's what this show is all about, bringing people on that can teach us these things. Teach us these things. Right. So Miss Megan, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not in the real estate world. What have I missed that the people need to know? As far as buying real estate? Buying, selling, flipping, which agents to stay away from, whatever you want to share, Well, I would say let's start on the investing part. I know I have a lot of people that say, hey, I want to invest in real estate. One thing I always ask is, do you have your own house first?
Right.
Because you can't go and buy an investment property first.
Okay.
And use up your credit, and then if you want to buy and hold it as a rental, which is your generational wealth.
Right.
And then go and try to buy your primary house.
Okay.
Because you've used up that space, and let's say you go buy $150,000 investment property, or let me tell you that. Say you go buy it and you finance $100,000.
Right.
So that is going to be a monthly payment under your income, right? So you're going to have to float that and to try to buy a personal property after that. So, and if you're fine as long as your income supports it with your debts.
Okay.
But that's some of the challenges.
Right. So you're saying that DTI will be too high?
DTI, which is debt to income, which in layman's term is your monthly income gross based on your monthly debts.
Gotcha.
So, and I'll say the number, if you can calculate and figure it out, the number that most banks want to see is 45% and below. 45%
and below, and that's good to know. And Miss Megan gave us layman's terms. I'm gonna give y'all KirkTalks terms. If you spending way more than you make, you're in trouble. So you have to make more than you spend, and that's essentially what your debt to income is.
Right.
You need to be making more than you're spending.
Right. Right. And I say about that too. Just thinking about generations, we have to be ready to do more and not be content with what we're doing as far as what we're doing, I guess, to get income in a way. If that makes sense. Right. Like I may have somebody that comes to me that, and I'm not knocking anybody's hustle or anything, but if you want a $300,000 house, your income can't be equivalent to a manager working at, let's just say, McDonald's. Okay. So you gotta be okay with the level of income and the property that you can be able to afford, because that's the other major part about affording a home. Your income has to match the type of property that you want to buy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So it's being realistic in the type of property that you can probably afford. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what I'm starting to see now is definitely starting to outweigh a lot of what people are making and what they're wanting to afford, but the market is rising so much. Right, and the area is growing quickly. Yeah, so quickly. Guys, definitely, if you're on the fence, you have that 600, you have that 640 now. You've been on the fence, you've been thinking about it. I don't know if you can afford it. I would jump out there. That's just my personal preference, because that house 9 times out of 10 is going to appreciate me. It's going to gain in value. So if it doesn't work out, call this young lady. She'll sell it. But I would encourage you to jump out there and make that move, because prices are only going to continue. I know y'all watching this show all over the country, but Carolina Panthers 5X is up the street. Right. So it's going to continue to grow, and the market is shrinking. Right. So. And even with this area in Rock Hill, I mean, we were born and raised here. Right. It's not the Rock Hill of 1995. It's not the Rock Hill of 2005. Yeah. It's not even the Rock Hill of 2015. The Panthers are coming. They've built the Rock Hill Sports Center. Right. So if you're thinking about investing that way, what I'm telling people, and maybe giving away some detail, but I want to help people. Right. But even if you're thinking about buying something, look at Airbnb in it around that area. Okay. Because if that area is bringing people from all parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, they gotta have somewhere to stay. Okay. And it's not a lot of stuff. And now you're seeing in this area they're building hotels. They're not doing that for a reason. Right. And I'll say another thing too. I'm on this board at Rock Hill, and it's this innovation board. And so we're just trying to see how the area of Rock Hill is growing, and what are some of the places that need help in. Okay. And 2 of the areas was job creation. Gotcha. And how can we get jobs that earn more money to be able to afford more in Rock Hill, and housing was an issue, because Rock Hill, and I'll give you guys some nuggets on this, Rock Hill is really considered a poverty area. Right. But because we're lumped into Charlotte's whole market, our affordable housing amount, they're saying affordable housing in Rock Hill is about $1,200.
Right.
So because we're lumped into Charlotte and all these surrounding areas, Fort Mill and TK, that are more of your higher value areas, it kind of inflates Rock Hill's value. But you do have people that's coming here because they want more for less.
And I think that's something we're also going to have to talk about, because if I'm hearing you correctly, Miss Megan is kind of telling us how a lot of people, if they don't change up the way they're doing things now, they're not going to be able to afford to live in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Correct.
Again, the home prices are continuing going up, but these jobs, they're not paying more money.
Right.
And unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of these jobs on the lower end are going to go away and go away for good. So, there's kind of that void. Prices going up, wages going down. What do the people do? So that's why I kind of encourage you guys to educate yourselves best way possible. If that's going to trade school, getting a real estate license, whatever you need to do, you need to find a way to bring in another stream of income for that very reason.
And that's good that you said about different streams of income, because that's what, if you're used to having a mill job, or because that was what it was here, mill textile stuff here now, but then people had to shift their thinking and get innovative, and that's where people went into the hospitals, and you went to Charlotte to try to get a better job or a distribution job,
Gotcha.
But as you get that income go up, don't let your debts follow it.
Right.
That's the thing. Income high, debt.
So again, I mentioned it the first episode. Again, I was making 50 grand, but I had 50 grand worth of debt. I got up to 60.
Right.
I just now kind of got a handle on it. Like my wages have went up, and I'm just not getting a handle on it. So again, I try to have an asset for every liability.
Yeah.
So that's the goal now. But
Right.
again, I struggled for a while.
Right. And you don't know better until you do.
Right.
I mean, you don't do better until you know better.
I'm making. I'm making this money. Let me get this fancy car.
Right. And to your point with that, that's what I think is lacking in even like our high schools. Like that needs to be taught in high school. Like our kids don't know what a checkbook is.
Exactly.
They think, Mom, give me a debit card.
Exactly.
I can just swipe, and that's where we get caught up.
Right.
Swiping.
Well, you can swipe that one a lot. It's a lot of money on that one.
You ask my daughter, she's like, Mom, no, I'm very. I'm sound with my money. I have to be even in this industry because all of my money is 100% commission.
Gotcha.
It's not guaranteed.
But so you just said something very important. You said you're sound with your money. Anybody that want to go to the next level, you have to be sound with your money. Like me personally, I'm not good with money, but that's why I have a CPA. That's why my wife is better with money than me. They handle it all for me. You can afford this, you can't afford that, and I just trust them. So again, you have to have a team, and if you want to be good with money, you have to be sound with money.
And you have to know, and I want to put this out, you have to know how to sacrifice.
Right.
And that's another thing with buying a house. You have to know how to sacrifice, and you have to have discipline.
Okay.
And that's what I try to tell my, potential clients when they're buying and they're coming to me. It's kind of like buying a house is a sacrifice and discipline. Okay. Because you got to sacrifice to save. You got to be disciplined to save. If something happens in your house, and I take back when. Right.
Definitely.
It's not even an if. When something happens, because it will happen.
Definitely will.
Either it's going to be, sooner or later. So you got to have in your mind of like, okay, something's going to happen. I got this money in this emergency fund. Hot water heater go out. Roof started leaking. I need to get it fixed. I can't depend on the maintenance man because you can't call them.
Right. But it's crazy you say that because 6 months after I moved in, my pipes bust. I thought I had a crack in the slab. I called them hot. Like, no, something got to shake. But luckily it was just a pipe bust.
Right.
But then 6 months after that, my water heater went out. So just this summer, 98 degrees, my air went out. So
and for us as agents, we do that research for you on the front end.
Right.
And a seller's supposed to disclose if anything has happened, what's new, what's not new. But the thing that we say when buying a house is buyer beware. You have to beware of what you're going into. It's not going to remain like this.
Gotcha.
during the buying process, yeah, that seller has to make sure this home is maintained until the day of closing. After the day of closing, it's all on you.
Okay.
It's all on you.
I didn't realize that.
And that's why I encourage home warranties.
Right.
You know, after the fact, especially if it's not a new home.
Right.
Because when that dishwasher breaks, either you're gonna buy a new dishwasher or you can pay that service fee.
My dishwasher broke too. I forgot about it.
That's usually the first
two
thing
different
that goes.
houses. Dishwasher went out too. But I want to say one last thing. It's also important to make sure you got a good home inspector.
Right.
Good, thorough home inspector.
Right.
Somebody that's going to vet your home and, you know, kind of comb through it because it's a very, very large investment.
Right.
For most of us, our biggest investment. So that's very, very important.
Right. Right. So when you're buying a house, your main people are your agents, your inspectors, and your lenders, and your attorneys.
Okay. Awesome.
So those are your parts.
Awesome.
So yeah, but the home buying process it is, you know, it's a challenge, but it's worth it in the end. Okay. That's what I try to tell, you know.
Sound like it's a little rewarding for you.
It is. Okay. And it's, for me, it's the joy in seeing somebody accomplish something that they probably didn't ever think that they could maybe 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago, or even a year ago. You know, and everybody's circumstances are different.
Gotcha.
You know, everybody's buying a house possibly for a different reason. You know, when people sell a house, it's for different reasons. So if I can be that person to help them, you know, with that and helping them make their next move and close that chapter of their house or close a chapter with their home, you know, that brings me, you know, more joy than sometimes getting paid.
And I'm gonna leave that one alone. But I think that's just a good way to end it. I will say home ownership is very, very important. We all can get a home. You just need to find somebody to help you with that process. That's no longer something that's out of reach. It's very attainable. And
it was, not because you off, but I was reading somewhere where this year it was a record number for Black Americans for home ownership.
That's
2020.
We need it. That's amazing. And we're gonna keep that trend. We're gonna keep that trend going every year. We're gonna keep it moving forward. But last question. What does home ownership mean to you?
So home ownership to me means growing wealth the easiest way possible.
Right.
Because you can be in a home and not do anything.
Right.
Based on the current environment, the market, your home will appreciate.
Gotcha.
As long as you stay in that home and you sell it within 2 years, now don't sell it before 2 years, but within 2 years, you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's freely yours.
Okay.
You know, and if you want to build upon that by keeping it, you know, you build equity in it as long as you keep it. So that's what home ownership to me means, and just from what I've experienced in my, you know, background and seeing how it affects other, you know, cultures, other demographics, that's the foundation. And that's the foundation of America.
Right.
In a way. You know, you can't do anything without real estate. You know, whether it's residential or it's commercial, industrial.
Gotcha.
Everything operates out of some form of real estate.
Right. So guys, we kind of late to the party, but the party's still going on. So we need to come to the party, enhance and increase our home ownership. But Miss Megan, that was a great interview. I love everything you brought for the people. How can the people reach you?
So you can reach me on on Instagram at Meg B Realtor or on Facebook at Megan Blake. Also, you can email me, Megan, MEAGAN .blake@kw.com, and I'll respond to you. Usually within 24 hours, but I'm here to help you gain wealth through real estate.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So guys, this was KirkTalks episodes 3 with the awesome Miss Megan Blake, the best real estate agent I ever known. We'll sign off.